Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call on his name, make known his deeds among his peoples.
Sing to him, sing praises to him, tell of all his wonderful works.
It's good to greet you this morning, this second Sunday of the new year, and if you're visiting with us on behalf of the congregation, let me extend a special greeting. We're happy you're here. Certainly hope you enjoyed the service and that you will come and worship with us again. Most of the announcements are printed in your bulletins this morning. There's one thing before I forget it. Check and see if you've got your car keys, because these were found outside. And if they're not yours and it's a really nice car, I might have a new one. Is it yours? For next week's raffle, we're giving away a tank. They're the happy winners today. Let me go over some of the things that are coming up, though, with you, just to call your special attention to them. Don't forget that on January 30th, we're having our, I think it's the 7th annual Beach Walk. All of the benefits go to the RCS Food Bank and the Haven Spouse Abuse Shelter. You can register this morning in order to walk. It's $25, and for that you're going to get a T-shirt, a goodie bag, a pancake breakfast, and the opportunity to help some other people who are less fortunate, as well as just enjoy the camaraderie of those who are going with you. There are envelopes in your bulletins this morning, and if you cannot walk but still would like to make a donation, that's what the envelopes are for. So we invite you to do that if you so choose, and we thank you in advance for your generosity. Regarding the silent auction, we put in there an estimate of around $100 value for the gifts. We have to distinguish between an auction for a charitable event like this and a garage sale or something. So that's why it doesn't have to be $100. But if you have something nice that you would like to donate for that auction, that's a big fundraiser. And anything that you give then within those parameters would certainly be appreciated. Don't forget that at 1 o'clock this afternoon, we will have the memorial service for Joe Zammit here in the sanctuary. Also, be careful to read the information on the various education programs coming up. The second part of Thomas Keating's spiritual journey began last week, but that you can plug into that at any time. There is a change in the yoga schedule for Wednesday mornings. It'll be from 11:30 to 12:30, and that's been very nice. And Joe Cregan is starting a new program on Who Am I and Why Do I Think So? And that's going to be starting on Tuesday, January 19th. Also, next week, Adult Sunday School resumes, so keep all of those things in mind. Finally, the annual meeting is going to be on January 31st, the last Sunday of January. We'll have that in here. Generally speaking, they tend to be very short meetings, but they're very important meetings. So we encourage you to be here. At that time, we'll be passing a new budget for 2016. We'll be electing new officers and members of the church board and any other business that comes before the group. So I'll let you read the rest of it yourself. Just wanted to point those things out to you. Let's now begin our service of worship.
Please join me in the invitation to celebration responsively. This morning is like most Sunday mornings.
We have come to church to worship.
And yet it is different, as are all Sunday mornings.
We realize that every morning offers new opportunities and challenges, and at the beginning of this new year, that is especially true.
So here and now we come to God for strength and courage and faith and hope.
So here and now we embrace the future as we raise our voices in prayer and praise.
We'll call upon God, reading the invocation in unison. We remember, O God, the Roman image of the two-faced Janus, who looked in opposite directions at the same time, to the past and to the future. And we realize that we are much the same. We look to the past for guidance and to the future with hope. We look to the past to take what we can from our experiences and to the future as we seek to apply what we have learned. And we realize that we need all the help we can get to live fruitful and productive lives. Be with us every step of the way as we into the time to come. Grant us all that we can require to be and become whatever you want us to be. Grant us a vision of what our world can be like, and then the strength to make it so. This and so much more we pray, ending with the words of Jesus. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
As it
In gratitude for the many gifts we have received and in commitment to the work of this church, let us be generous in our morning offering.
Before we continue our service with the preparation for prayer, as we switch bulletins, sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. So if we have any young people today who are going to be going to classes with Joe, this would be the time to do it. Sorry. Good God, we try to stay optimistic, especially at this time of year when we seem to stand at a symbolic crossroads between the old and the new. We try to stay optimistic as we anticipate the future, short-term and long-term. We try to stay optimistic as we look toward what 2016 will hold for us and the challenges as well as the opportunities that we will face. But the world seems to be such a mess, such an all too often violent and dangerous place, and it is so easy to get disheartened. When will the killing and the hurting and the hating stop? Most of us cannot understand the way some people feel about other people, to the extent that they will do anything and everything in matters of disagreement. You don't care for them? Shoot. You don't agree with them? Hit. You don't think they're right? Bomb. And yet we sometimes experience more minor episodes of the same feelings which might end in abusive behavior or road rage. What is wrong with us? Open us to the belief that we are all brothers and sisters, members of the same human family. Make us more tolerant and civil. Bring our behavior level higher so it reaches what should be expected of human beings. And make us more generous and compassionate as we consider and help those with needs greater than our own. We know you love us even as we are. Now make us more worthy of that love. So we pray, continuing into the silence of personal meditation. Amen. For our Bible reading this morning, let us turn to the Hebrew Scriptures and let me read to you Psalm number 16. Protect me, O God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. I have no good apart from you. As for the holy ones in the land, they are the noble, in whom is all my delight. Those who choose another God multiply their sorrows. Their drink offerings of blood I will not pour out, or take their names upon my lips. The Lord is my chosen portion and my cup. You hold my lot. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. I have a goodly heritage. I bless the Lord who gives me counsel. In the night also my heart instructs me. I keep the Lord always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart is glad and my soul rejoices. My body also rests secure. For you do not give me up to Sheol, or let your faithful one see the pit. You show me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. In your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Christmas is over and we have entered a new year. Most of us have put away and safely stored our Christmas decorations until they will be resurrected next December, while the falling of the silver globe in Times Square on New Year's Eve, along with the singing of Auld Lang Syne, are just pleasant memories. In a sense, we have returned to normality and the world is again with us. Does that mean we have to put aside the feelings, the dreams, the anticipations, the joys engendered by the two holidays we have just celebrated? Does that mean we should or can? Or rather, should we and can we take the meanings and messages of both events and incorporate them into our lives, thus implementing what we have learned and what we have felt? Let's assume that the answer to that last question is yes. And what is one word that we can use to identify a major injunction of both Christmas and the New Year? I would suggest that the word hope ought to come to our minds, at least it does to mine. After all, Christmas, in all its traditions and festivities, speaks about hope. The hope that comes into our world by the arrival of the Christ, the hope that comes into the hope of peace and goodwill proclaimed by the angelic chorus to the shepherds, the hope evidenced as those shepherds who took to heart the message they had received and in faith rushed from their flocks to the manger, confident that the Messiah should be there, the hope demonstrated by magi in foreign lands that the star they discovered really meant something special, the hope we feel that because of what happened on Christmas, the world can and will change for the better. And the New Year certainly instills in us the hope that the future can be, should be, will be better than the past, especially if the past has been less than desirable. Martin Luther, 16th century friar and priest, professor and theologian, rebel and reformer, declared everything that is done in the world is done by hope. Samuel Johnson, 18th century writer who has been called arguably the most distinguished man of letters in English history, said hope is itself a species of happiness and perhaps the chief happiness which this world affords. And the title of this sermon I took from an essay by Alexander Pope, 18th century English poet, in which he proposed hope springs eternal in the human breast. Hope. One thing is sure, neither individuals nor society can survive without it. For you see, hope is the mechanism that keeps the human race tenaciously alive and dreaming, planning and building. Hope is not the opposite of realism, it is the opposite of cynicism and despair. As we are told in Proverbs, a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a downcast spirit dries up the bones. And artist Whitman has observed, the best of humanity has always hoped when there was no way, lived what was unlivable, and managed to build when there was little to build on. It was discovered after World War II, and I suppose after every other conflict in which America has fought, that prisoners of war who were convinced that they would survive their ordeals and whose minds and spirits were focused on the life to be lived in the future emerged much less damaged than those who felt they would never go home again. Similarly, psychiatrist Flanders Dunbar has told of two cardiovascular patients who were equally ill. The one said, "It's up to you, doctor." The other said, "I've got to do something to get well." The first depended entirely upon the skill of the surgeon and saw little that he could do about the outcome. The second realized that he was involved as a partner in the process and determined to be as positive as possible about what would happen. The first died, the second survived. Dr. Martin Seligman of the University of Pennsylvania has done research on the causes of depression, a disorder and disease which afflicts millions every year. He has found that depressed people tend to regard every obstacle, even minor ones, as impassable barriers, while feeling that responding to anything is useless because nothing I do matters. Successful therapy begins, he maintains, when such people believe again that they can control their lives. In the same vein, it was Dr. Josephine Jackson, one of the early pioneers in psychosomatic medicine, who wrote, "Our bodies are made for courage, confidence, cheer. Joyful emotions invigorate and sorrowful emotions depress. Pleasurable emotions stimulate and painful emotions burden." Regarding her patients who were almost always too exhausted to move, the sense of loss of muscular power was really the sense of loss of power on the part of the soul. Now, conversely, hope makes people come alive, as thousands of examples demonstrate. A talented black woman tells of growing up in a dreary slum where children had no special designated place to play. But they were kept busy working and hoping by a teacher who told them every day that they were going to get a playground. This went on for years, and when they finally hung their swings on the trees of a scrubby little tree that the city had gave them, and which they helped to clear and clean this particular lot, many of them had already been saved by hoping for that playground, minimal as it turned out to be. How much we dare hope about ourselves affects how we behave toward others. We've all encountered the type of person described by A.E. Housman when he wrote regarding the mortal sickness of a mind too unhappy to be kind. The person who hopes sees other human beings as they could be, and in so doing helps them. It is above all when people love that they hope and that they see the potential in each other. A husband with an alcoholic wife was disappointed again and again, but he never lost hope. One night she particularly embarrassed him in front of friends. Afterwards she broke down and tearfully cried, "Why don't you leave me?" His answer, "Because I remember a very beautiful person and I believe she's still there." And yes, this story has a happy ending. More than anyone else, children need happy expectation and the belief that what is desirable is obtainable. As one wise individual observed, children need hope as much as they need orange juice and a warm bed at night. Hope, a necessary aspect of the learning process. Indeed, it is at the heart of the learning process. It is needed by the baby taking his or her first step, and it is still there when life has only a short time yet to run. Even when just steps from death, a person continues to hold 1,000 hopes, feel the heart awaken, go right on learning, discovers treasure in him or herself. With all that said, doesn't hope betray us every day? Indeed, isn't it for most people like whistling in the dark? Perhaps we can answer that by admitting that hope has always worked against the odds. All life is a contest of life against darkness, of joy against despair. Yet most of us do hope, most of the time. Why? Maybe because it is natural to humanity. We are new people each and every morning when on this side of the disarming darkness we spring up and start over. Often those who go to bed in the depths of despair wake up the following day, see that the sun has risen on new opportunities, and are ready to give it a go. To hope again is as natural as seeds sprouting and birds singing, and maybe for the same reasons. Hope's signature seems to be written on earth and sky and sea and all that lives. Cells divide, flowers grow, trees leave, animals breed, all in a kind of cosmic expectation. The same call toward the future which dreamed the light and the world at the creation. However natural and vital as hope may be, we can lose it. It can grow tired as our lives grow tired. Can we then learn how to hope again or be helped to regain it? Of course we can. Hope is in the natural flow of life. It is unleashed naturally by removing the impediments that block it. Let me offer some suggestions. Hope for the moment. There are times when it is hard to believe in the future because we are temporarily just not brave enough. This is when we must concentrate on the present. Just as recovering addicts of any and every stripe must learn to take it one day at a time, despairing people must learn to hope for one day's mercy at a time. So cultivate what has been called the little happiness. Look forward to the next moment, the next hour, the next meal, the next rest, the next book, the next movie, and the likelihood that tonight the stars will shine and tomorrow the sun will rise. Figure out what one thing you do well and enjoy doing, and then do it. Don't look too far ahead. Sink roots into the present until you are again strong enough to consider the future. Take action. One person stated, "When I can't see my way out, I do something anyway." This is good advice to anyone who is paralyzed by despair and can't seem to get off dead center. The only real sin in the world, wrote columnist for the San Francisco Chronicle Charles McCabe, is not to fight, not to realize the fullness of your own nature. No matter what, we can always at least change ourselves. And this gets back to doing what we do well and enjoyably, regardless of how minimal that might be. Believe in hope. Don't ever be persuaded that pessimists have the corner on truth. Some folks would rather live in a fog of skepticism than risk disappointment. The minute someone has decided that there is no hope, there is suddenly nothing else that he or she has to do. This is the world's best alibi and excuse for inaction. But wouldn't we rather, if and when we get knocked down, get up again, work against the odds, and just know that tomorrow will be better? If we believe in hope, then we will hope. Artist Whitman tells us, hope is not a lie, but the truth itself. It is true that seeds are planted and crops grow, that children are nourished and respond with love and promise, that progress is made, that man aspires and builds his hope into institutions that move forward even when he wearies. The Tom Dooleys and Albert Schweitzers of the world are as real as the Hitlers. Average people strengthened by faith do perform saintly deeds, and wise and heroic ones. In relation to hope, I think about King David. In many ways a flawed person, and certainly a complex and great one. I think one of his outstanding characteristics was his persistent hope. David rose from obscurity, just a shepherd and a poet, although he came from fairly comfortable circumstances, to the kingship of Israel. However, it was not a smooth path, and there were lots of times when he could have easily given up. It must have been hope that enabled him to face and fight the Philistine warrior and giant Goliath. It must have been hope that enabled him to go on when King Saul turned against him and he had to flee to save his life. It must have been hope that enabled him to conquer his many enemies after he ascended the throne, even though they seemed so numerous and powerful. It must have been hope that enabled him to withstand the heartbreak of a dysfunctional family and the death of some of his children at the hands of other of his children. It must have been hope that led him envision a bright future for his country, even when darkness seemed to surround it and him. There are no easy cures for hopelessness, and our options can be seriously hampered and restricted by our physical circumstances. But hope is always the best of our alternatives. It is as right as spring sunlight, and it is a goal in and of itself. It is an exercise in gallantry, a frame of mind, a style of life, and a climate of the heart. Even if and when we are not going to win, even if death and disaster are finally going to catch up to us, hope is worthwhile, for it enables us to drain the last drop of joy from whatever time we have left. If joy is coming, hope will have proved itself right. If disaster is coming, hope will have strengthened us to meet it. Hope springs. Hopefully, hope springs. Let us leave here with hope in our heart, hope that the future can be better than the past, that every day offers new and glorious opportunities, and the knowledge that God is with us. And as we serve others, we thereby serve him. May the Lord bless us and keep us. The Lord make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. The Lord lift the light of his countenance upon us and give us peace, both now and forevermore. Amen.